Get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. Let's get right into it. It's Tucker Carlson sitting down with the man, Tom Homan. He is the one that is going to be doing the biggest mass deportation operation that America has ever seen. A lot of people don't like what he has to say about illegal immigration and how he's going to shut it all down. His family's been threatened. He's been threatened. He's had to be separated from his family for a while because they were in danger, because certain people were threatening his life. And he's been through a whole lot because of this whole thing. He's done this job of handling illegal immigration for about 4 decades, 1984 to 20, 4 decades. This guy's been doing this. Comes out of retirement for the second time for Donald Trump. And in this podcast with Tucker Carlson, it's a very emotional moment for him because he talks about what he has seen while on the job, what he has seen and what he is trying to stop and why he's trying to stop it. So let's get into that. This is not a deep dive. I'm going to show you a couple clips afterwards. But this is just a very deep moment. Let's get into it.
It's all very dark. I have to wonder, you said you used the phrase military-age males. Because this was so coordinated by these NGOs, Catholic Charities, UN, and others, you have to kind of wonder, like, is there some military purpose to this invasion? Have you wondered that?
I've wondered every day.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get in power to start drilling down on these files. Who are these people who you release? What kind of vetting did you do? Did you take biometric, biographic data?
Yeah, high testosterone foreigners? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be paranoid, but
it's been very, they don't talk about it. And it's very, but when we get in power, we're going to have to pull all those records. It's like that over 300,000 missing children. We got to pull those records from HHS.
Okay, so what? I'm sorry.
I've been told by whistleblowers.
What is that? 300,000 missing children. That's something else I've read reference to.
Look, over 500,000 children been trafficked into this country, and they get turned over to custody of HHS, Office of Refugee Resettlement, who find sponsors and release them to sponsors. I've talked to several whistleblowers say they weren't even fingerprinting the sponsors on many occasions and not doing proper vetting. We have a whistleblower who testified in front of Congress now 3 times. That a lot of these children seem to be victims of trafficking. They're released to unvetted sponsors, and many children will be released to one sponsor. The one whistleblower said there was 11 young girls released to one male, single male. Maybe it's all innocent. Maybe it's not. But
there's nothing innocent about it. That's sick.
And look, the CBP One app, they shut that down because of massive fraud. One of the insiders in CBP told me, for example, one dead man sponsored over 1,600 people. Been dead for years. Massive fraud, massive trafficking involved. And when they talked about opening CBP One app to do that, I said at the time, before they even implemented it, if you do this, it's going to create a huge trafficking network. Where if you're from Cuba, Nicaragua, Haiti, or Venezuela, you want to come to the United States under this CHNV program, you just got to find a sponsor who want to take care of you. How many sick pets would be willing to sponsor anybody from one of those 4 countries to come live in the United States? Then after they get here, you own them. All you got to do is, you're their official sponsor. Without you, they can't stay. And what are these, sick sponsors? Not all of them, but many of these are going to be predators and sick people. What are they going to do to these people who are trying to stay in this country? It's a huge human trafficking issue. I guarantee you.
And by human trafficking, is it mostly for prostitution?
Prostitution or forced labor, mainly, those 2 things.
So if you go to any construction site in the big construction site, they're building a data center or a mall. I know this because I know a guy who in the business just told me this. Anyone in the United States, there will be child prostitutes there from Latin America brought in by the cartels for the guys on the cruise. And I said, does everyone know this? He said, everyone knows it. I mean, it's just a fact. Every big construction site in the United States. Does anyone ever do anything about it? No, no one ever does anything about it.
Wait till January 21st.
I don't understand that, though.
No,
if everyone in the building trades knows that, how can law enforcement ignore it?
We're not going to starting January 21st.
Good.
But I can tell you, look, of the over 300,000 this government lost track of, I guarantee you, as I sit here today, we'll find many in forced labor. We'll find many in forced. That's a sad thing. We're going to find them. So that's why President Trump's taking it seriously. We got to save, especially we got to save these women and children that are put in this position. The immigration consequences will still come, but first we got to save and get these kids. As far as the kids, over 300,000, we got to save these kids. A lot of them are living life hell every day, and I guarantee you we're going to find. ICE HSI has already found some of these children in meatpacking plants, cleaning up entrails on midnight shift. We're going to find some living with pedophiles. We're going to find some are in sex slavery. Some are going to be dead. But we got to find these children, and President Trump made that a third rail of priorities. And it's something that needs to be done. This administration stopped the DNA testing. They stopped the proper vetting. Under the Trump administration, we were having the same problem in the beginning. We did DNA testing. You weren't a family unless DNA testing showed you a family. And we did vetting. We didn't just vet the sponsor fully. We vetted everybody in their household to make sure there wasn't a pedophile living in that house, make sure there wasn't someone arrested with domestic violence in that house. This administration stopped all that because Becerra, the secretary of HHS, he gets on stage and brags. And I saw him on stage bragging how quick we release these kids from government custody. We got a machine here. It's like the Ford plant. We get them in and out of here. Yeah, because you stopped the proper vetting, you stopped the DNA testing, and God help you for what you did to these children. Because a lot of these children are living a life of hell every day, so we got to find these kids.
It's unbelievable. So, last question. I'm just interested in why you're doing this. So you did it for 40 years. Yeah, 1984, 40 years. And then you go into the private sector and you're not retired, but you get to do kind of what you want to do and make a real wage after working for the government all these years. And this problem is just so enormous. And the bureaucracy is so complex and hard to fight. And they always win in the end. Why would you take this job?
Well, because I love my country, first of all. We made more progress on the Southern border than ever before in the first Trump administration. I was ICE director. I'm taking an 82% pay cut.
Oh, I bet.
And I'm going back to a government paycheck. And thank God my wife supports me. She said if I don't take the job, she's going to divorce me. Because she don't want to keep me waking up every day, mad at the world because I didn't come back.
So your wife's not a liberal?
No, she's not. I say this many times because of things I've seen in my career. I mean, I stood in the back of a tractor trailer. I grew up in a town of 2,500 people. Either you milk cows, or you're a logger, or you worked at Fort Drum. It's only three things you did where I grew up. So I grew up in a town of 2,500. I fast forward. I'm standing in the back of a tractor trailer with 19 dead people at my feet that baked to death in back of that tractor trailer, including a 5-year-old little boy who suffocated to death. And on top of him was his father who was trying to protect him. During that investigation, they said that little boy begged his father not to let him die because he wanted to see his mom again. Begged over and over again. Here's a 5-year-old little boy who knew he was dying and asked his dad for help. And his dad can't help him, right?
No.
I've talked to little girls as young as 9 or multiple times by members of the cartel. Not once, numerous times. Grown men crawled upon this little girl, took everything innocent and pure from her. Her life would never be the same. Look in her eyes. There wasn't life in her eyes. It's just, this little girl's devastated for life. And this happens every day. When they unsecured the border on purpose, I wrote an op-ed of Fox News, and I says, if Joe Biden wins the presidency, we lose the border. And when you lose the border, trafficking, sex trafficking will skyrocket, child deaths will skyrocket, migrant deaths will skyrocket, American deaths will skyrocket from drugs coming across that border. I wake up every day pissed off for 4 years. So, and I've been on numerous networks complaining about it. So when President Trump calls me up, says, you've been complaining about for 4 years. You want to come fix it? How do you say no? Yeah. First of all, you don't say no to the President of the United States. And second of all, I won't say no to secure. I love this country. I want to save some lives. Secure borders save lives. So I'm going to come back and do what I can. I guarantee you what we're going to do is going to save migrant lives. It's going to save American lives. and it's going to protect our national security. That's why I'm coming back. Not for the pay, I can tell you that. I'm coming back because after 3.5 decades doing this job, do you understand it? Do you understand the tragedies that happen around it? The more secure that border is, the more lives we save. So I can rest. When I retire for the third time, I can say, I did my part to save some lives, and maybe less children are being exploited and women are being exploited by these cartels. And my number one goal is seeing these cartels wipe out the face of the earth. And I think President Trump's the guy to do it.
Of everyone appointed, I think you got the best shot of winning because you know exactly what you want to do. Tom, thank you very much.
Man, solid dude. A lot of people, probably don't take all that in when he says that stuff, but as he's saying all that, you can really see the emotion there,
So I grew up in town in 2500. I fast forward. I'm standing back with tractor trailer, 19 dead people at my feet that baked to death in back that tractor trailer, including a 5-year-old little boy who suffocated to death. And on top of him was his father who was trying to protect him. During that investigation, they said that little boy begged his father not to let him die because he wanted to see his mom again. Begged over and over again. Here's a 5-year-old little boy who knew he was dying and asked his dad for help.
No.
Man, at that moment, you can really see even a guy who has been doing this for 4 decades, before that, cop in New York City, even that still messes with him. There's certain things that you can never get desensitized to, and that seems like it's one of them, especially, he has kids. Even now I have a young child, and it's like, it gets to you just thinking about that, because the dynamic between a father and a child, and in that situation, it's just absolutely horrendous. And I've said it before when talking about the border. We've covered the border a lot on this channel, that, if they get word that when they come to the border, there's no more money and no cell phones and no bus ride, and it's just, you have to stay in Mexico or you have to wait in the country that you came from. When they start getting word that happens, they will stop coming. And when they stop coming, they will stop bringing their kids on this crazy, I don't even want to say adventure. It's just it's a terrible path to go through, just riddled with danger everywhere. The Darien Gap is just so dangerous. If it's not animal, it's not disease, if it's not cartel, if it's not murder, if it's not worse, it's just crazy having to go through all that, paying people, and you don't have it, and you're a female, and then the payment that comes with that, and it's absolutely horrendous. Your child, it's horrendous what happens. So many people don't even make it to the border as they try to go through the Darien Gap. Sometimes they just get consumed by that whole experience. Again, if they just understand that they're going to remain in Mexico, if they just understand that they're not going to get through, it's not like it was. In fact, all the people who they heard made it over actually got deported back. When that starts happening, the numbers will just trickle. They will trickle. There'll still be people that'll still try, but because some people actually are asylum seekers. They actually have a valid case. And those people, they might just go, remaining in Mexico is the best thing. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And they'll be happy with it, So there'll always be people, but it'll slow down so much, and it'll save so many people's lives. You have no idea. And then it slows down the drugs. And as the drugs slow down, it saves Americans' lives. It's all around. People don't seem to understand at all. But it's an all-around win for the people trying to come and the people in America when the border becomes secure. It's just a win. It's a preservation of life. It is. It's not, a white supremacist thing, and I'm afraid of the replacement theory. It's not that. It's not bigotry. It's none of those things. It actually preserves life of just, you can't even tell the ripple effects. If this was done 4 years ago, I mean, Lake and Riley, there was another young girl, I think she was about 12 years old. I'm sorry that I'm forgetting her name, but those girls would still be alive. That police officer that we all know got beat up wouldn't have got beat up. Right now in New York, they're smuggling firearms, the TDA gang smuggling firearms into shelters, smuggling drugs into shelters. None of this would be happening if the border is just more secure, you know? At least there's I gotta shrink this screen. I just wanted to zoom in on Tom there because it's you can really see it in him, man. You can really see it in him. In fact, I'm gonna go back to him. You can really see it in that moment when he's talking about that 5-year-old. You can really see it. He really has a heart there, and it makes it so he comes off very hard, very calloused. That's why when they say, he's in that interview and they're like, well, what about separating the families? He's like, well, the whole family can go back to wherever they're from. Even the one that may have been born in America, like, keep them together, send the whole family back. Like, if that's what it takes. He's not actually this cold, terrible person. He's looking at it like, if that's what has to happen so we don't find more tractor trailers filled with people who bake to death, then that's what I got to do. And this guy, you've heard what he said. He's seen 9-year-olds suffer disgusting injustices. He's seen terrible things. So it's like, if it just takes that callous approach for just a little while for that to not happen, then it seems worth it. And as people start to learn this about him, they'll start to understand what they're seeing. Because a lot of people, even Joe Rogan was like, this guy scares me. But it's like, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's a guy with real emotions there, has a real heart there. And he's seen terrible stuff. He's seen terrible stuff over 4 decades of doing this. You got to remember, he wasn't always at the top of the top within these 4 decades. He's actually someone who had to climb the ranks. He's worked almost every position that you could work in regards to Border Patrol, and then becoming the director of ICE. Like, he's gone through the ranks throughout that time. So he's seen it all. He has seen it all. And there's one mayor who it's actually rubbing off on. I'm going to shrink this screen. I made this very big just to hit that point home. But I really want people to understand that guy, man. It's always, you ever notice in life, it's the people who are a-holes who tend to have good hearts. They're being blunt for a reason. Maybe something happened to them. Maybe they've been pushed around too much. There's a reason that they're that way, but it's usually those people that are usually the kindest. They're just very blunt and callous on the outside, but on the inside, they're actually very nice. And it's usually those people who are very nice and virtuous with their Rachel Maddow glasses on that are actually cold and desolate on the inside. What's going on in Texas right now? They're actually becoming the first state to be building their own border wall. They're doing this themselves. No help needed, not until Trump gets back in office. But they're not waiting on Biden anymore. Biden's trying to sell off pieces of the border. I believe Texas is buying what they can. I think they at one point wanted to buy it all. It's off the market now because so many people found out about it through X posts and things of that nature, YouTube videos like this. So they took it off the market. Texas was buying it up a little bit. Now they're just building it as much as they can until Trump gets back in office and they can get that real big financial push and federal support in that way, as they should. Another mayor who's actually woken up to this, surprisingly, and I have a big theory. I'm going to do a video on this. I have a big theory on what happened to Eric Adams. Eric Adams didn't just roll out of bed and decide. He spoke against the immigration in New York. He said it was gonna destroy the city, and then all of a sudden, Boom, he gets indicted. And then when he's at the correspondent dinner, I'm going to do a video breaking it all down, but Trump is at the correspondent dinner. He's like, you're going to be okay. He's like, they came after you. He's like, I can see why they came after you. You can tell, Trump can tell it was very political. And ever since Trump won, Eric Adams has been inching closer and closer to becoming Republican. He's been very on their side. He even met with Tom Homan. I'm going to do another video about how they met and what they talked about. But now he is saying this, and it sounds like he just came out of a meeting with Tom Homan because he's echoing the same sentiments.
We have 500,000 children who had sponsors in this country that we can't find. We can't find them. We don't know if they're doing child labor. We don't know if they're doing we don't know if they're being exploited. 500,000 children. There's a level of hypocrisy that everyone that states they want to protect everyone but innocent individuals who are victims of crimes and children. I want to support and protect children and innocent people that are victims of crime. And those who don't understand that, it's not up to me to try to convince them. I know what my job is, my goal is, and I was clear of that while running and when I became mayor. Safety means everything to me. 500,000 children, we don't know where they are right now in this country. We have 500,000 children who have.
For some reason, the Biden administration didn't want him to talk about stuff like that. They didn't want him to admit that there is a problem with how many people are getting let in, how many people were in New York, and what that's all looking like. They didn't want him to talk about this. It's crazy, Even, the heading of this, ever wonder why the FBI is targeting Eric Adams? Now you know. Because he started moving towards this. He started being honest. It's very, very sinister what went on with the border. As much as, I've made videos talking about just recently Jack Smith and Fannie Williams or Willis or whatever her name is, Fannie, disqualified. Thank God. Amazing. She can't be on the case. We'll do an episode on that as well. But as much as I've made videos about those people and how they need to be investigated and they need to be looked into, not for vengeance, but for justice, you really got to look at what happened with the border. Whoever could be held responsible should be held responsible, and it's more than just Harris being the border czar and not knowing how to do that job. And there's more to it. And yes, of course, Biden did a bunch of things day one that just kind of took away and insecured the border right away. But there's more to it. That needs to get looked into just as much as anything. Because that was not just an injustice on those people who wanted to come over and started coming over. And, the good ones, because there's some that have just benefited, they're squatting in places, they're doing crime, they're killing people. There's all sorts of stuff, right? But that was a real attack on Americans. I don't know who that falls squarely on. And I don't know if you can even say it's one person, because there's Biden, there's Harris, there's Mayorkas, who kept saying the border was secure. It wasn't. He kept saying it. Pretty sure he said that under oath. Is that nothing? Does that not mean anything? I don't know when it comes to that kind of stuff. But yeah, hard-hitting episode, man. Hard-hitting episode to hear that guy talk about what he's seen. Tom Homan, and I just make this episode so people can understand a little bit more about this guy, where this guy's heart is in this whole thing. There's a lot of people who think this guy is very callous and he just doesn't care about any immigrants of any kind. But those people that you just saw him getting choked up over, they weren't Americans. They were not Americans that got him choked up. When he's talking about the little girls, they're not Americans he's talking about. They're not. So if this guy's getting choked up over illegal immigrants who are trying to break the law to get into the country, obviously he's not the terror that the media is trying to make him out to be. The dictator-esque person that the media is trying to make him out to be. You got to remember, they're always trying to mold our realities. That's why it's so important to look a little deeper into these characters that pop up. I like Tom Homan a lot. I hope one day I'm able to interview him. But anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, helps the channel tremendously. And other than that, I'm out.